Hey YouTube, it's FS Physicus. Good to be talking to you today. Today we're going to continue on with the exploration of wet tumbling for cleaning brass rather than the traditional dry tumbling. I don't think you can see my tumbler over there. If it is, it's at the far left of the screen. In our first video, I took some brass that I had cleaned using a vibratory tumbler. Then I deprimed it, and I put that cleaned brass in a solution of Dawn, hot water, and Lemi-shine. In this container, I manually agitated it, and what we got out of it was some clean brass. Okay. Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering, well, why didn't you just put regular old range scrap in there? Not range scrap, but range brass, you know, that was dirty from the range. And the real reason is that when I dry tumble, when I first started doing it, I would deprime the brass and then I would tumble it. And I always seem to get pieces of the media stuck in the little flash hole here in the primer pocket. To me, that was not a great solution, because then, after I had already deprimed these, when I ran them through the reloading press, you know, it still had to go through the deprimer to knock that stuff out of the flash hole. And if I forgot to put my collection tube for the primers on, you know, it was kind of a mess. So what I wanted to do was, I was really just trying to test to see if the wet tumbling would clean the primer pockets out. Now, I would say that my results, you know, from just that hand agitated, mostly just soaking in the solution, generated the following results. So first of all, I think that overall the exteriors of the cases came out brighter and shinier, looking better clean than dry tumbling. Now, that could be for two reasons. One is that the brass that I dry tumbled, or tumbled in the vibrating tumbler, I can see this is going to be a fun video for diction, you know, may have sat longer, and so it may have oxidized. Now, up close, there is a noticeable difference in the shininess of these two, or the color of these two. This is a darker color, this is a lighter color, a brighter shine, basically. Okay, but that could be due to the fact that this stuff was tumbled and then sat around for a while. The other factor is, potentially, is that, you know, when you use the dry tumbling, it creates a dust that always seems to be present on these, even after you separate the media out. You can mostly smell it, you know, after you've been handling it. So that, to me, might be another reason. However, like I said, you know, when I pick up a handful of these, they look significantly brighter than the dry tumbled ones. So, one of our results is that we have brighter exterior of the case. The second thing was the interior of the case. Now, when you dry tumble, pretty much uniformly the inside of the cases look dark. They may look a blue-greenish, kind of tarnished. With the wet tumbling, you can't really call it tumbling, but with the wet solution at least, the inside of some of those cases looked clean, but not polished. Okay, so that's a little different. That's a noticeable improvement. As I look down into the box, maybe a view I can show you later at the end of the video, I see light and reflection in them, whereas the dry tumbled ones, especially the inside wall, is just, it's coated with like powder. And, you know, that may be the dust from the tumbling, from using the dry tumbler. Okay, so the second result is that the interior of the cases are noticeably cleaner. And then the real reason that I was testing this was to see if primer pockets were cleaned. Okay, and the results from this, there's basically three groups. There's a group, and I know you're very far away and probably can't see that, but there's a group, a small group, where the primer pockets come out looking pristine, like they've never been fired. I'm just trying to see if I can find one here. That one's pretty good, but I don't know if you can see it from that distance. However, trust me, there's a group, maybe 20% or less, where the primer pocket's been completely cleaned and it looks brand new. There's a larger population, which is maybe 60%, where there's been some cleaning action in the primer pocket, but there's still primer residue in it. And for only being manually agitated now and then, and not having any stainless steel media in it, I don't think that's too bad. And then there is a certain percentage of the population, maybe again 20% or so, where it doesn't seem like any cleaning of the primer pocket has occurred. Okay, so those are our 3 results from that. And given that overall, I consider the results out of the first batch of wet tumbling to be very favorable. I wanted to continue on and get further into the process. Like I said, I didn't have an automated tumbling device. I was just doing it manually. I didn't have any media. So today we're going to take the next step. I went down to Harbor Freight and took my 20% coupon, and I bought this dual drum rotary rock tumbler, which is a mouthful to say. And we're going to go ahead and unbox this thing. We're going to put some media that's already starting to be cleaned, and this time I am going to take some stuff that was just collected off the range and throw it in there, and we'll see what happens. Okay. This is actually my second batch of the manual stuff, and again, it's cleaning some of it. The water's not turning real dark. I think that kind of indicates that, you know, we're not getting a lot of I don't know, abrasive action to get the stuff off the cases. But like I said, I don't have any media in there, so I don't think that's a bad thing. Anyway, however, let's go ahead and open up this puppy. If you're interested in getting one of these yourself, this is item 67632 at Harbor Freight. Seems like it's commonly sold for between $59.99 and about $66. I believe that the price that I was charged was $59.99, and then again with a 20% off. So let's see, 60 times 0.2 is 12. Okay, so like $12 off. So from 60, 50, 48. So 48 bucks, I think, is what I paid for this, or thereabouts, plus sales tax and everything. Now, the one thing I'll tell you right off the bat is this supposedly has 2 3-pound capacity drums. What I would say is that plan on putting a pound of stainless steel media into each drum, so you're really only going to tumble at most 2 pounds of brass. And when you first are using it and learning out, you know, start slow. You know, put that pound of stainless steel media in there and maybe only put a pound of brass in or whatever, and just see how things work. Okay, well, this could be interesting to get out because it's very tight fitting. I don't have a lot of room on my bench at the moment. As you can see, I'm getting a little crowded here. So I will see if I can get this. Okay, I was going to try and get it out without destroying the packaging, but doesn't seem like that's going to be possible. So we'll go with another trick and we'll just invert it. Okay. Wow, it is really packed in there tightly. Okay. There. Now the one end is heavier than the other. I presume the end where the motor is and everything. And so that's causing it to come out, kind of like, try to come out like that. Okay. So we did manage to get it out. And let's see what we've got here. Okay. All right. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so we've got a little bag of spare parts here, and as I understand it, this should be some extra seals for the lids of the drums and an extra belt for the motor. So we'll just put those off to the side. Go ahead and take out the containers here. Yeah, and so the drums were rubber. I'm assuming they're not really rubber. They may be rubber coated. But you know, it would have cost extra money to put that word on the packaging, so let's go ahead and see what we got here. Hope I can get the lids off. There we go. Okay. And I think most of you have seen this before where, you know, okay, there you go. There's the drum, the inside of the drum. And we've got the lid with its seal. Okay. That's kind of interesting because these, if any of these are seals, they don't seal over everything. So I wonder how that works. I will have to read the instructions because I don't think they would have given me all replacement motor belts. I'm just looking at them. That one definitely has a belt. Actually, I take that back. It doesn't look like there are any replacement seals. Looks like they give me a heck of a lot of replacement belts for the motors. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. All right, and then on this end, okay, we'll take a look. Looks like there's some adjustments for the motor. I would assume that moves the motor mount or maybe adjust the tension of the belt. I can see there's a screen under here. And I can see the motor. Can't see through it real well. At some point I'll have to take that out and investigate. But I assume this is for adjusting the motor so that the belt is tensioned properly and turns the rollers appropriately. Okay, and then there's just an on-off switch. All right, so I think what we're going to do, I just set that down in the hole, is we'll go ahead and see about, I think I'm going to start with putting as much of this stuff into the tumbler, to the drum as I can, and then in this drum we're going to put some of the range brass that has not been cleaned at all, that I've just picked up off the range. Okay, so we're going to get those filled up and we'll come right back. Okay, so I decided to film some of this anyway. All I'm doing here is I'm taking out the stuff that's already been soaking in a solution of Dawn and Lemi-shine and water. And I'm going to throw this into the one tub. Normally this wouldn't be so messy because you'd be tumbling it, or you'd be filling it when it was dry. Okay. I'm going to fill the drum up about, I won't take all of this, so I'm going to fill the drum up about halfway, I think. Ooh, you know what? I'm going to have to get some of the liquid out of there now anyway, so let's just start with, just go ahead and start like that. And I can get at some of the brass. And with this stuff, you know, I've always seen people say they just cover, you know, just make sure the liquid covers the brass. I'm going to put some more Lemi-shine in here because this has been sitting for a while. I'm imagining that that's probably, you know, been consumed in cleansing so far. Now, why am I doing this? Why would I go ahead and continue to clean brass that's, you know, to a certain extent already been cleaned? Again, I want to see if I can get the primer pocket thing, you know, get better cleaning of that. It's funny because Lemi-shine is very citrusy smelling. Okay, I'm going to call that enough. So basically what it looks like is this container is probably 2 drums, just to say as an estimate. Okay, I'm going to put the lid in. Now the lid, you kind of got there's a groove on the inside of the drum, so you want to engage that. And it should be obvious when it seats. You can kind of push on it, nothing else happens. We'll put the lid on this one. Okay. Get the lid screwed down tight so it seals. All right, and we're just I'm just gonna see if there's any obvious leaks. Doesn't look like the lid's quite on evenly. And I'm going to set that tumbler here toward the motor. The next one, I'm going to put in some brass that has not seen any cleaning action whatsoever. That's just been picked up off the range, and it's mixed pistol and rifle and various calibers. A lot of 38 special in here, and it has not been deprimed, which is a shame. I don't really have the time to deprime it now, but I want to see what's going to happen cleaning that brass. So, you know, until I get used to this and get the process down, there's going to be probably some extra effort. I'll probably be tumbling the same brass 2 or 3 times, getting it to how I want it. I will say that lid is on there. The outer metal lid is really on there pretty well. Pretty tightly. Okay, there we go. That may change as things go. And then you just kind of pry away the edge of the container and use the stud in the center to pull it up. Wow, this one this one has a lot of air in it. Okay, so let's just take some of this range scrap. I keep calling it range scrap, and I'm sorry about that. It's not. Oh, by the way, I did find a unfired 38 special out on the range, and I'm glad I caught that before it went into the tumbler. Okay. Wow, what is that? 30-30. Huh. I guess I haven't seen too much of that before. I've seen a lot of 30-06, but not so much 30-30. Okay, and again, I don't know how much the weight is. I'm going to assume I'm not overloading these tubs. A little piece of something in there. Looks like the wrapper from a moist towelette. Okay, yeah, this one's a little bigger. So now I am going to take a break. Well, wait a minute. Let's go ahead and we'll put the Lemi-shine in. Okay, and I just do an old. Actually, at this point, I don't need the glove anymore. I just kind of do an old, you know, household trick where I put my hand like this and go, whoa, wait, that's too much. Okay, well, we're going to have way too much. You know what I'll do is I'll just pour about half of that in there, and then I'll see if I can get it back in the container. There we go. Yeah, I got Lemi-shine all over me. Maybe I'll shine. Okay, now I'm going to go get hot water, and unfortunately the dish detergent is upstairs. So bear with me while I go put that together, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, we're back, and I just wanted to take a moment, put on the GoPro and show you this, okay? So this is the brass that was just collected off the range. I've got some Lemi-shine, I got a little Dawn in there, and hot water, and we're going to go ahead and close this up. Again, like I said, you kind of want to find the groove in there, and I think that's about where it is. You can feel it engage. Okay, and then we go ahead and we put on the the outside metal lid. We put on the big washer, like a fender washer kind of thing. And we tighten this guy down. I have no idea how tight you're supposed to tighten it. I mean, this is pulling the two things together. So that looks like it's good. I'm going to go ahead and put it on to the tumbler, and I'm going to bring this back just a little bit. That's what we've got now, and I think we're going to go back to the big camera. We'll turn this on, and then of course we're going to have to let it run for a while. So I will be right back. Okay guys, we're back and we are set up. We've got my my previously tumbled, deprimed 45 ACP over here that came out of this jar. It had already been soaking and been manually agitated with Lemi-shine and Dawn. On this side we have, you can feel the heat through the drum, we have hot water, Dawn, Lemi-shine, and some brass that's just been collected from the range and has not been cleaned at all. Okay, so it's the rest of this stuff. I have no media, no stainless steel media in either drum. So that will be the next thing that I'll add, assuming this is all successful. Also, the stuff that I just picked off the range, I didn't have time to deprime it, so we're not going to really be able to see primer pocket cleaning. Like I mentioned, I'm going to have to, as I get familiar with the process, the steps will get easier in the proper order. Like this, I'll have to go back and deprime and probably tumble again, but I'm learning, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and switch this thing on and see if it even works. I've got it plugged in over here, and seems like it's running. And it sounds like it's tumbling. Okay, so from here on out, it's going to be at least 2 hours, so we'll be back at the end of 2 hours and we'll check up on the tumbling. Okay, YouTube, we're back. I'm just going to put my hand on this. I've had this tumbling on the floor where I think it's more stable. You'll notice that there seems to be some chattering between the drums here, which is something I'll have to look into. It almost is like we need something pushing in from this end to kind of hold, or pushing from this end to kind of hold things in place. But in any case, now while it was tumbling on the floor, it was working just fine, so that doesn't seem to be a problem. Let's go ahead and shut this off. There we go. Okay, so we've been tumbling. When I stopped filming before, it was about 1 p.m. and now it's 3 p.m. So we've been going for about 2 hours, and we're going to take these guys off and see how they have come out. Now, this first one on the left here, my left, your right, of course. This first one is the stuff that came out of this container. This was 45 ACP that had been tumbled in a vibratory tumbler, dry tumbler, with regular, corn cob media. And then it had been deprimed after it had been cleaned. And after that, we went ahead and put it in that container full of Lemi-shine and Dawn. Sorry, having a little trouble getting this off. Lemi-shine, Dawn, and hot water. It was agitated manually and very sparsely, not a lot of agitation, so mostly it just sat. Okay. And then we went ahead and put it in this drum. I'm going to step off camera for just a second, grab a screwdriver to pry that top off with, because oh, never mind. We'll stay on camera. Okay, so we're going to open this one up. Okay. And I know you can't see right now. I will put the GoPro on in just a minute. But the water is kind of greenish, but it's still clear. I mean, I can see down into the brass. Oops, I just slopped some here. And I don't know. So the first thing I'm looking at is primer pockets, and I'll just tell you this, like this one doesn't look like it changed at all. So, okay, no change from that. So I'm guessing that to really get the primer pockets, we're going to need stainless steel media, which, like I said, was going to be the next step. This next one I just happened to pick up about half the primer pockets clean. So that's pretty good. And the inside is considerably cleaner than I would expect to see. So not bad there. Doesn't seem like a whole lot of advantage over. Wow, it's like grinding away the drum. I hope we can get more drums. Okay, so didn't seem to be a whole lot of advantage over that, but remember, this was brass that was already cleaned with a vibrating tumbler. This one I'm interested in because this is the stuff that I just picked up off the range. This is what it looked like when it came in. It's got mud and dirt. Some of it's got mud and dirt in it, and I really wanted to see, starting from scratch, what would it do. The problem with this is I didn't deprime it first. I was actually in such a hurry to play with the new toy and get down here and video this that I didn't deprime it. So no matter what results we get here, it's got to go back, it's got to go be deprimed, and then it's got to be run through here yet again. Interesting how much the drums are getting torn up. Okay. And I think the secret to this is just kind of go around the edge a little bit and pry up. There we go. That was much easier. Okay. Oh, we got some suds trying to get out. Okay, so we got some sudsy water. Probably just means I have too much Dawn. And now that's another thing. This water has actually, in this container, has actually been reused. And the second time that I used it, I put in, boy, I really dug up my fingernails there. The second time I put brass in, I put more Lemi-shine in, but I didn't put any more dishwashing soap in it. I didn't put any more Dawn in there. I think the Dawn is primarily there just to break up the surface tension. In other words, make the water wet. If you're into photography, you might understand that. But basically just to break up the surface tension. Now this is the first piece of 38 Special I'm pulling out of here. And, and I'm dropping it right back in. I probably won't get the same one. And I got to tell you that this looks pretty darn good. I do have a set of 38 Special dies, 357 dies, so I can deprime this stuff. I can't see down in the inside of the case very well, but you know, the cartridge head and the head stamp is clearly visible, and the brass looks pretty good just compared to, let's see, here's a just random piece of 38 Special out of the box. Okay, and again, I'll do this with the GoPro and we can see it up close. That looks pretty good to me. Not sure how dirty the water is. I'm going to go pour this out. I'll save some of it so you can see how dirty the water is, and I will come back with the GoPro and we'll do a little over-the-shoulder look here at what's going on. Okay, so we'll be right back. Okay, so just a quick thing. I've got that second drum of the range brass over there rinsing with clear water. While I have that going on, I thought you might like to see that this is what came out of that particular drum. Okay, a couple of things to mention. I normally don't tumble brass all with a bunch of calibers mixed together. I try and do some intelligent sorting. Like if things can fit inside of each other, I try and pick ones that are big enough that they fall out easily and don't get stuck. It looks like either the 308 Win or the 3030 cases, a bunch of them mated to 38 Special and stuck together. Now, the nice thing with the liquid tumbling, you know, if you get two cases nested inside each other with a dry tumbler, whatever material is tucked away inside will not get polished. It looks like with the wet solution, since the wet can get in there, it looks like it actually cleaned. I have one situation where I had a 9mm get stuck in a 40 Smith & Wesson where, and it was case bottom, they were both pointing the same way. So it looks like the 9mm did not get cleaned very well around it. It's not dirty, it's just not bright and shiny. But the 40 case looks fine, and actually even inside the 40 case looks pretty good, so I don't quite understand that, but that happened. Anyway, let me go pick up the brass. It's been rinsing in some clear water, and then we'll take a look at this stuff. Okay guys, we're back, and we're going to take a look at what we've got in here. So let's see, like I said, first of all, the left drum, from my point of view, was my 45 ACP that had been tumbled dry in the dry vibrating tumbler. It had then been deprimed. It had been soaked and agitated manually in a jar full of Lemi-shine and Dawn and whatnot. And like, for instance, this one, the primer pocket is pretty good. This one, not so much. Okay. This one, wonderful primer pocket. This one, doesn't look any different than not cleaning it. Okay? So, agitation alone, well, I don't know. Now, here's the thing. Like I said, I'm reusing the water I used before. I did put more Lemi-shine in it, but I didn't put any more Dawn in it. And it may be, too, that would have been helpful. So, okay. So, for the 45 ACP, I don't know that there's a big difference. Okay, compared to what's in there. There is a difference compared to, the stuff that was dry tumbled. But like I said, what I was really trying to figure out with the 45 ACP was, could we get the primer pockets cleaned out? And the answer is sometimes. With Lemi-shine, with Lemi-shine and Dawn, even with an automated or a mechanical tumbling, the answer is sometimes you can get the primer pocket cleaned, and sometimes it is not. Let's just see if we can. I should have gotten some Q-tips to jam down in here and just see, what kind of residue is left. Okay, so the case still had a lot of crap in it. But it looks pretty good now. Okay, and like I said, primer pocket. So it's tough to clean those. But no media. So no media was used yet. Now let's look at the range brass. You'll see some things here, like here's a 40 with a 9mm stuck inside it. Everything got pretty shiny. It's just the case of the 9mm here looks like it's been abraded or something. Let me see if I can get any more liquid off that. It looks like it's been scratched, and maybe it was by doing this. I suppose that could be possible. But it's not like a dry tumbler where if this happens, your 9mm case isn't going to be cleaned any farther below that because the media can't reach this stuff. So that's kind of interesting. Uh-oh, here's another one. Not as bad an effect. Okay. But look at how bright and shiny the brass is. And just to remind you, this is what we started with. Okay, so these ones compared to this one, or this one, or that one, So I think there is a noticeable difference and a big improvement. Okay, so I would, so far I'm going, the liquid cleaning, liquid tumbling, wet tumbling is most definitely yes, it's a good thing. So some of this I might have to take out and tumble again. But like I said, I was just in such a hurry. I wanted to try this out. Wanted to show you guys this. Let's see, here we got a couple that are stuck together that way. What is this? This is, again, a 40. A 40 and a 38 special. They got stuck together. But again, things got cleaned up fairly well. It's just there's some scuffing here. So, again, I'm looking at it, and let me see, what was I having happen? This is what, 308? No, that's too, okay. It's not 308. Wow, there's a bunch of these in here. I didn't think there were that many 40 cases, and I didn't think there were that many 9mm cases. I think it was these guys that were getting stuck together. The 30-30. Is that what that says? 30? I'd almost swear that it says 20-30. That doesn't make any sense. No, there it is. 30-30 and 38 special were getting stuck together or something. Okay, so let's get down in there and take this out. And okay, so that's how it comes out looking. That to me seems pretty darn clean. Oh, look at this rimfire stuff that got sucked up in there. Okay, so that's what it looks like coming out of there. That looks pretty clean to me. So I would say so far, wet tumbling has been a success. All right, let's go back to the other camera and wrap up. Okay, guys, so let's take a look at things so far here. We've got this 45 ACP. It's been cleaned in a vibrating tumbler. It's been sat in a solution of Lemi-shine and water and Dawn and been manually agitated very infrequently. We've now got a tumbler to use. Okay. Ooh. Looks like it really grinds off some of the outside of the drums. Okay. And that 45 ACP seems to be pretty much the same. It looks good. It's clean. It's pretty clean on the inside. Some of the primer pockets have gotten clean. That's great. Then I've got some stuff that I just picked up off the range, which is this stuff. I didn't deprime it before I ran it, which means I'll probably have to tumble it again, unfortunately, but that's my mistake. But it looks really good compared to what it looked like coming off the range, which is this stuff. Okay? So far in exploring wet tumbling, I would say it's unqualified a success. And what I'm going to do for the next phase is, now that we've got a tumbler, an actual automated tumbler, what we'll do is we'll get some stainless steel media We'll put it in, we'll mix up a new fresh solution of Lemi-shine, Dawn, and water, and we'll tumble it for a couple hours and see how it comes out. We'll do this with 45 ACP that has already been cleaned before to see if those primer pockets can be cleaned. We'll do it with this range brass once it's deprimed, at least the things that I can deprime. I can't deprime, well, I could find maybe a manual way to deprime these, but I don't have dies to deprime a lot of the big rifle rounds. Okay, but all the 38 special, all the 40, all the 9mm, all that I'll get deprimed, and we'll tumble it with some media. Okay, and then we'll also try range brass that hasn't been cleaned anyway. We'll get it deprimed, at least the pieces that we can. We'll put it in with the media and tumble it for 2 hours and see what happens. One thing I've noticed with the tumbler is might be necessary to adjust the rubber legs, because I don't think it was sitting flat here, and so the two drums were kind of hitting together and bouncing apart. When I had it on the concrete floor, there was none of that happening. Okay. The other thing is it does seem to be chewing up the side of the drum fairly well, so I'm wondering, well, it's not fairly well, but it is taking some of the material off there, and I can see it collecting on the rollers in here. Okay, so what I kind of want to do is maybe, that doesn't feel like more than 3 pounds, but maybe when you put the water in, maybe I've been overloading it, which of course is going to put stress on the motor, and I don't want to do that. So the next time I do this, I'm going to try and weigh the media that I put in and the brass, just to make sure that I'm not overloading the machine somehow. And also from now on I'll have to run it on the floor, because on the floor the drums were turning flawlessly. They were turning without hitting each other or any kind of goings on like that. Anyway, let me see about wrapping this up. It's gotten rather long and I didn't intend it to be. Like I said, I'll go buy some stainless steel media. We'll do some more tumbling. We'll share those results with you, and we'll come to kind of a final analysis of what am I going to do moving forward. Am I going to do this wet tumbling for everything, only for some things? Am I still going to use the dry tumbling? Where are we going with that? Anyway, thanks for looking in on me.